Hey guys, what's going on? My name's Ethan Sturry. Thank you for watching. Today I'm going to be installing the Escort Redline 360c Mark II in my 2022 Tesla Model 3. Along with that, I'm going to be installing the Escort M2 Dashcam. I also have a blend mount on the way. This is what it looks like. It's going to attach to the bottom of my mirror and it's going to support the radar detector by itself so I don't have this suction cup in the way on my windshield. I'm going to make a video on that. Stay tuned for it and I'll be posting it shortly after this one's posted. This is the Escort Redline 360c Mark II. It detects K-band, Ka-band, X-band, and laser or LiDAR. Let's take a look at what's inside. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I've already opened this. I had it installed in my car yesterday just because I wanted to see how it did, and I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty cool. This is the back of the box here. It says dual band Wi-Fi, any 2.4 or 5 gigahertz, true strength technology, auto learn intelligence, true 360 awareness, Defender database. It says it's a dramatically quieter ride. Advanced software reduces false alerts. That's very cool. Lightning fast performance and extreme range. It says longest detection range for radar detector and laser threats. This is, in my opinion, the best of the best radar detectors. So that's what I went ahead and picked up. I know a few guys that have the Uniden R7 on R8 and it's pretty okay. And honestly, I just don't like the looks of it. It looks a little old and dated in my opinion. So first up, when you're opening up the box, you're gonna get this travel case here. You're also gonna get a few different things. It's some instruction manuals, quick start guide, and product registration here. So be on the lookout for that. I already got my product registered yesterday. Now, also, I do want to mention, I've already pulled out the suction cup mount. This is what comes with it. Like I said, I'm going to get the blend mount and that's going to mount to the bottom of my mirror. But this is what comes with it. You can tell it's already been on my windshield a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and go to the car later and get this installed. That's what it looks like. It's a bit tacky. It's a sticky suction cup. So that way you have the adhesive power and the suction cup power, which I think is really neat. I'm gonna set that to the side. We'll go ahead and dig in here. I did package this up to make it look nice for the video because I wanted you guys to get the true experience if you don't have this yet, because I know I was watching a bunch of YouTube videos on this before I actually bought it. And I wanted to see everything about this radar detector. I wanted to see how it worked, the size of it, what came in the box, everything like that. So I'm gonna make this video super detailed for you guys. So this is actually the radar detector itself. I went ahead and put it back in the plastic just so we could do a second unboxing for you guys. It comes with a little cover over the actual front antennas there. And this thing is pretty heavy. It's probably about a pound, maybe 1.5 pounds. You have a few buttons on the top here. You have the sensitivity button, you have a brightness button, power, mark. So if you drive by a store that has the auto doors and this picks up on that sensor every single time, you can mark that location. It remembers it on GPS and the signal. That way, if you drive by it, it's not gonna go off every time you pass that store. It also has the auto learn feature, which is really cool. If you pass a building, like I said, that has the automatic doors or whatever, and it picks up on that signal, you have to drive by it at least 3 times, and it's gonna mark that with the GPS and the signal, and it won't go off and blare the alarm at you every time you drive by it. You can adjust the sensitivity with these buttons and then the brightness with these buttons, as well as the volume, and you have the mute button there. This is what the front of it looks like. It looks like it has 2 antennas on the front of it. Very cool, very sleek. It just looks dark from the front. And then I believe this is antenna here on the back. None of these arrows are buttons, they don't push. All you have are these guys up top, and then you also have the Drive Safer app that can also control this radar detector, and I think this is another antenna up there. This looks like a screen up there, but it's just for the mount. It's the magnetic mount. All you do is you just slide it in there and it clips in, and it's pretty sturdy. I have this loose right now because I have the dash cam attached to it, but that's all it is. It's nice, secure, it holds really well, and I will show you all of that once we get to the car later and get that installed. It also comes with this power cord here. I have a Tesla, so I've just been plugging this into my cigarette lighter in the glove box, and it works flawlessly. I've seen some people post on forums online that doesn't actually shut off when you get out of the car, even if Sentry mode is enabled, and it does. It shuts off whenever you get out of the car, no matter what. But I didn't really like the tacky look of this cord here, so I'm gonna get this switched out for something I bought from Amazon, and I will have all the links to everything I'm using in the description of this video. This is a USB to RJ11 connector. That's exactly what this is. Kind of looks like a phone cord or an Ethernet cord, but it's an RJ11 connector. So that's what that looks like. And this is a USB to RJ11 connector. It's just over 9 feet in length. So I am able to run it from my radar detector down across, down my A-pillar and into my console. It's just a nice little bag here. And the cable is, it's a good plastic, I guess. I don't know, I'm not a plastic guy, but it looks pretty okay. Moving on to the dash cam. All right, next up we have the Escort M2 dash cam. This is the box. It looks pretty cool. It's neat, it's slick, kind of like the iPhone of radar detectors and dash cameras, I guess. There's 3 stickers on here, there's 1 here, there's 2 on the bottom. You need to cut all those in order to open this, but it simply just opens like that, and then I've just been sliding it out of the bottom like that. This box is pretty neat. This is just a thin little cardboard flap on top, and I have the dash cam right here. I took the cover off so I don't want to get it dirty or scratched with anything, but it sits right in there just like that. And this is actually what the dash cam looks like. I've replaced the micro SD card because it does come with a micro SD card, but it's only a 16 gig micro SD, so I went ahead and replaced it with a 128 gig. There's 1 button on this entire dash cam. It is the power button. You can hold this down to power it off, or you can click it once to save the video. And the RJ11 connector I was talking about is going to go in here, and then this is actually going to loop around into the radar detector, and they're going to run tandem. This is 1080 pixels, it is 180 degrees, it records audio, GPS, location, as well as a few other things. I will put a video on the screen right now. It does really well day and night. It has its own dedicated night mode as well, so it's not all grainy and it doesn't look bad at night. As you can see there, it has the GPS, it has a speed. I should have my name on the bottom corner because it has a option for a driver, so I put my name in there, and then you can also get rid of that logo. All right, last thing I want to show you is this. And there's many different ways of powering your radar detector, but I got this. It's a dual port vehicle charger. I just got it from Best Buy. It was like 15 bucks, I think. So I'm hoping for that price for a gadget this small, it is totally worth the money. But I'm gonna open this box up here. I honestly haven't opened this up, and I'm gonna see how it does. I think this will do just fine. There's other ways that you can power this. I did look at the wire tap. I don't want to tap into my wire harness, but I don't want to risk the radar detector shorting and then me frying my car computer. So I just got this. It's going to plug into my cigarette lighter in the console, and I'll be able to plug the USB cable into there, and it's going to run up. But let's go ahead and get this installed and see how it looks. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get this going here. I'm going to sit in the passenger seat just because I don't want to be cramped up with everything. So originally I had ordered a USB splitter that would actually go in the glove box here, and I was going to run it through up the side and then across. But I'm not going to do that because I figured out that the cigarette lighter plug, the 12-volt plug, actually shuts off with the car. So I'm going to put that in my console there, and I'm going to go ahead and get this mounted up. I'll show you kind of how I'm doing this. To mount the dash cam to the radar detector here, I have this suction cup mount. I'm going to set that to the side, and then I'm going to grab my dash cam here. And to do this, you actually unscrew this little thumb nut there, and then this will clip, well, I guess it'll screw onto this. In the box with the dash cam, you actually get a longer screw, and you get a lock washer as well as just a regular washer. So I'm going to pull this flat washer off, and then this is going to go on it like that. It's kind of hard to do one-handed because I know my camera can't see what I'm doing here. All right, and this is going to screw on to this. My dad helped me set this up yesterday, but on my own today. All right, so now I'm gonna get this, and this is just a sticky suction cup mount. I'm gonna mount it right back where I had it, and then push that up, secure that there. First, before I put the radar detector on, I'm gonna get this dash cam level with the dashboard. Screw that down there, make sure that's tight. I'm gonna get this radar detector here, and I'm actually gonna loop this cable. I'm gonna make kind of like a service loop, and then plug it in there, and I'll be able to mount that. And then I'll go ahead and connect the radar detector there. and attach it like so. I'm gonna bring that down just like a notch or two, just because I'm really picky. I want it to be pretty flat. And I have heard people say that the suction cup will actually fall off in warm weather, which doesn't surprise me. My last dash cam did that a few times until I got it actually sticky mount. I have this set up there, so I just used the suction cup mount. It's kind of the sticky suction cup mount. And I went ahead, before I actually put this on, I plugged in the dash cam to it, and then I just clipped that right up there like that. It works really good. I have the dash cam. It's plumb with the dashboard here. Same thing for the actual radar detector, but I can always go back in and adjust that later if I need to. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to get this cord. I'm gonna run it here, up the camera housing, across, down, and somehow I'm actually gonna beat it down behind the dashboard, and it's gonna come all the way up and plug into my glove box. Do I know how I'm gonna do that yet? No, I'm gonna have to take a few things off and probably go up under here. I'm most likely gonna either tuck the wire up under this trim piece here or up under this trim piece and just have it go back. And I don't know if there's a way I can tap into the glove box here. I don't think there is. I might just have to bring it up around here for now until I get the other USB splitter in there. But I'm gonna give this a shot and see what we can do. Plug that all the way in there. It is on, but as soon as I get out of the vehicle, that will shut off. All right, so to get this wire installed, I'm actually gonna be pulling down some of the headliner and a bit of the A-pillar there. But I've seen a video of people actually removing the camera housing here, because like I said, I'm in a 2022 Tesla Model 3 and all Teslas have the cameras up here. I think you have to remove this first in order to get the camera housing down, and it's a really tight fit. It's not going to be very easy. I don't even think I can get this trim tool back in there, if I'm being totally honest. I've seen a lot of people use gift cards, and I actually have probably an old gift card in my wallet here. I can use my Lowe's card. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm actually gonna get a card up in between this piece here and the actual camera housing. I'm gonna try and pop this piece down, and then I'm gonna pull the camera housing down and try and feed the wire up in there somehow. Dude, this is probably the smallest panel gap on the entire Tesla. With that blend mount that I was talking about, it's actually gonna mount right here on this stem, and it's gonna hold the radar detector down and kind of out from the mirror like that. So it'll be up here instead of all the way down there. Probably should put gloves on so I don't get fingerprints all over everything. Well, that'll save me from having to clean my glass later. All right, so I'm pulling the side of this down with my thumb, and I'm gonna fit this card up in there. Someone said it feels like you're gonna break it. So I was actually able to get this card wedged up in there. I had to pull this down with my thumb to make a little bit of a gap, and I was able to wedge this card in there. And now I'm gonna go in with this trim tool and just kind of pry the rest of it out. So I successfully removed this piece here. It's still attached with this little wire, kind of rubber cord there, just to keep it from falling in case it does fall. I had to kind of pull this out some so I could get the card in there, and then I was able to create enough space. I was able to get that trim tool in there. And now somehow I haven't seen a video on this, but I have to pop this down. But I'm worried about this camera, but I'm just gonna go for it and hope for the best. All right, the camera can't see this very well. I'm gonna have to go into post and fix that later. But I got this off. I've pulled this down. I was actually working on removing the mirror, but I don't wanna do that. So I'm just gonna plug in the cable. I'm gonna run it behind here. Try and stay away from the cameras, and then just up into the headliner there for a clean install. Once I get down here, I'm gonna have to figure out how to run it all the way to here. But thankfully, Tesla has this giant screen, and you're able to pull up the videos. They have videos on some things, so that's pretty handy. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove some of this. So this little piece on the corner here, you can just grab. I've done this a few times, and it'll just pop right out. It's held on by 3 clips. So 1, 2, and 3. I'll just toss that down there. This has a clip at the bottom, so you actually have to pull it out of the top first and then rotate it out from the bottom. So there's your bottom clip, there's your top one. toss that down there. Next, I'm gonna pull up the weather seal here. And then there's this little clip down here that'll just pop out. You can just remove that, nice and easy. And I will show you also where I was gonna actually tap into the wire harness that I refrained from doing. So this is the wire that people have spliced into. I don't wanna do that just because it really messes with the integrity of the wire. That's really dangerous. It can completely cut the wire. It can wear loose over time. And so I'd come back here, I'd pull this carpet back, and I was actually gonna tap into this wire, one of the wires back here. But I decided not to do that. So I'm gonna see if there's some way I can feed the wire up through there and run it across here. So I'll pull this headliner out now. I've got the headliner down here, and I'm actually going to feed the wire up from underneath. I'm going to work backwards and make sure that I have enough room and I know what's going on. So I have that. I'm actually going to end up feeding the wire up behind the airbag here and then across, just because if it's in front of the airbag, and I'm sure if you've watched videos about this, you've seen don't run it in front of the airbag, because if it happens to inflate, it's probably not going to hurt you. It's a thin wire, but it could risk the airbag not inflating properly, and it could also launch this into your face if it pulls too much tension on the wire. You don't really want that. My next step is to remove this guy underneath here. It's just the kick panel kind of underneath there, and there's just a few little clips. Honestly, you can pull them down with your fingers if you want to. You have one there, one in the middle I forgot about, and then there's one all the way right there. I think the other side has 3 and 2 screws. All right, so now that I've got all of those out, I'm able to just reach up under here, just kind of pull it down. There's 2 cords that you need to unplug though. One is for the light and the other is for the speaker. So I'm gonna unplug the light here. This is an aftermarket light, so it's red. And then unplug the speaker. And that's just like a little chime speaker. And I'll just set that, I don't know, on the console there. So my goal is to feed the wire up through here and get it out the side. So right here, I just ran the wire. There was a little slot right there that I could see the light coming through. Not really sure where it came up through on the underside, but hopefully that panel is going to be able to cover it. All right, I'm going to take this, kind of measure it out some, as much as I need. Might be a little short. Feed it up through the airbag. So now I'm going to fish that up behind the airbag like this. Okay, grab that. Awesome. And I'm gonna run it up through here. Sorry, my camera shut off, but here's what I've done so far. So I've got the cable running up through this housing and it's going into the headliner here. I just need to tuck that a bit more. But I've got this camera cover secured, and once I get this piece back on, I'm just gonna run it underneath that, and then it's gonna go up to the dash cam like that. Once I get the blend mount, I'm gonna have a little bit of a shorter space, so it's not gonna look as nasty, but that's what I've got for now. So I've got this cable coming through here. I'm gonna feed it down and probably go behind this guy here, like that. Just give us a little bit extra room. And then run it across and down. It's not gonna run that far. But that's okay. I'll just go buy a USB splitter. I'll have to run this into the glove box somehow because I am out of cable. Oh well. So I guess I'll just go ahead and run this into the glove box now. And whenever I get that splitter, I'll just plug it in and I'll just keep running that coil cable until I get the blend mount. Hypothetically, there should be a way to get it in there. Well, I know there's definitely a way to get it in there. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go get a little bit of wire and I'll just feed it down in there and then I'll be able to pull it back through. I just have to find said wire. Found it. There it is. All right, so I got that. This is where the hanger ended up coming out. Grab this side, I'm gonna feed it a little further that way. Oh, perfect. I think I can make that work. I'm gonna get the USB here and a little bit of tape. Looks like I'll have to buy a longer cable now. I'll feed this up. And got it through there. All right. And I'll have that ran in there, and then I'll just kind of coil up some of that extra and get her secured. So I've got this kick panel secured up under there. What I'm gonna do now is put this trim piece back on, and there's a special way you have to get this fitted up in there because there's little slots in the carpet. So just make sure you get those where they're supposed to be. There we go. Get this guy, put him in there. Now it is time to put the radar detector back up. To do this, like I said, put the little loop like that and that. That'll do for now. Here's that little loop I was talking about. That's really the only way to do it if you're pairing it with the dash cam. I've got the wire running from the back of the mirror there. It doesn't look the best right now, but once I get the blend mount, it won't look as tacky. And I've got all the cables ran, and it goes into the back of the glove box here. I'm gonna wait for that USB splitter. I might go by Best Buy and get one, and then we should be good and have a clean install. All right, so I'm editing the video right now, and I realized I kind of cut off in the middle of the installation here, and the videos that I have are just snippets. So I'm gonna tell you what I did, give you kind of a quick rundown, and then I'll put in some videos of me actually getting the cable ran through. What I did here was I ended up taking the whole console apart, and I removed the 12-volt cigarette lighter back there, and it's actually tucked under this panel here, but I have the cable running down under here, and then it's coiled up back underneath in here. This cable I have running down, right? I put it in the glove box here at one point. And then what I did is I went to Best Buy and I got another USB cable, and that's the one that I have plugged in under here. And I have the cable running down behind all this trim, and it's coiled up and they're plugged in together up under this panel back here. And I was able to power the detector that way through the 12-volt plug, which, like I said, I took out of the console and it's just hanging out in there. But it's working. I like it. So here's just a few video snippets of me actually getting that installed, but I want to give you guys a good idea of what I did and how I did it. So here's a few videos of me actually getting everything taken apart and getting the wire ran and installed. So this cable being plugged into the glove box, it was handy, but it also doesn't shut off the radar detector with the car. I actually have to have a timeout on the radar detector for an hour, and then it'll time out. So I'm gonna go ahead and unplug this. I got this wire at Best Buy. As you can see, it's a little thicker, but I'm gonna go ahead. It's just a USB extension cord. I'm gonna go ahead and use this and run it down behind the glove box, and I'm gonna try and run it up the side here and into the glove box. That way I can use this and actually power the radar, because I figured out that this shuts off with the car. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that ran, and I'm gonna see, I don't know exactly how I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna go ahead and try and see what I can do. If you have a Tesla, you're probably well aware that this pops off here. You just have to take it and pull it. It's really light. I could do this with two hands a little easier, but I don't want to break anything. I don't think there's enough space behind this too, but I'm gonna go ahead and pull this out and see what I can do. My first step was feeding it back through this side because it's gonna be patching through the glove box here. I could have them connected behind the glove box, but I think this will be an easier disconnect. And it comes out on the front side of the foot vents down here. So I've got it fed through here. I didn't really use anything. I just kind of used my hands and ears to listen where it was at, and then I kind of felt around for it, and I was able to feed it through there. It tried to come out between the vent and this plastic here, but I want to be able to run it outside of the foot panel here. So I'm gonna keep feeding this through until I get this end up in the glove box. Maybe if I did connect it back behind there, I might do that. I think that would be more reasonable than having it merge in the glove box, because let's be realistic, when on earth am I ever really gonna need to unplug it from the glove box? I feed this one back down. If you remember, I tucked the cable up here. So I'll pull this down. All right, we're able to get this down now. So there, I can close that up. Another thing I'm trying out here is running it up through here somehow and getting it to come out of this. But I think this felt is attached somehow to this bracket back here, which is a solid bracket. So I don't know what I'm gonna do about that. Okay, here's what I've done so far, just because I want this to be an absolutely clean install. I'm actually gonna remove the cigarette lighter or the 12-volt plug, and I'm gonna run it back down under here, and I'm gonna feed this cable through the console, and it's gonna be hidden under here. Now, what I've done is I've removed the kind of trim, the bright work that goes around this, and then I've also removed the metal plasticky stuff that's sitting back there in my back seat. There's 12 screws. There's one all the way back here, and it works its way all the way to a white plastic piece up at the front here. And then I've taken off the cup holder decor, and this is just a piece of plastic. It's held in by the clips there. And there is one thing that you need to unplug for the RFID reader, which is right there on the back, and then that just pops off like that. Now I'm gonna work on probably removing the cup holders there, and then I'm also taking off this carpet trim panel down here at the bottom. That way I'm able to feed that wire back there and get it hidden. This is the same thing that you do when you're taking off or replacing the air filter. I did put a glove on just because I gouged out a chunk of skin out of my finger, and that kind of hurt. So I put gloves on just to kind of help protect it. And this is pretty flexible. You can't really break this. This is a very flexible plastic here. So that's just gonna pull out just like that. And now I'm gonna work on removing this and somehow feeding this cable up there. I don't know how I'm gonna do that yet, but this is what I have done so far. I'll be back in just a few minutes with an update. Another useful feature of having a Tesla is having the service manual right on the screen while you're working on your car. So what I think I'm gonna do now is unscrew these, maybe pull this out. I think this will give me a way into the console, and then I'm gonna have to figure out how to unplug this, get it routed down under there. You just have to pull up on it really, really hard. Oh, yeah. You do just have to pull up on it really, really hard. I've got this out now. Let me tell you, this was a pain. I had to use 2 small flathead screwdrivers, and I had to pry that clip up in the back there and this one, and then it slid forward out like that. So if I were to put it back in, I'd have to slide it in like that, but I'm not gonna do that. I am going to actually wrap this with some electrical tape, the outside of this. I don't know how cigarette lighters work, but I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna wrap electrical tape around it, and then I'm gonna feed the USB wire up. I'm gonna tape it to this. It's just a wire hanger that we've straightened out, and then I'll be able to pull it up through, and hopefully it reaches that. I'm gonna say it's safe to assume the metal jacket is negative, but you never know. So I went ahead and wrapped it with the electrical tape. This is what it looks like. And then I also went just a few millimeters above the lip here, and I cut every centimeter, half a centimeter or so. I just kind of guessed. And then I was able to fold it down and around, that way nothing, just in case it's positive, nothing will touch that and short it out. My next step is to take this wire hanger without hitting anything in my car and feeding it down through this hole, hoping that it comes out somewhere down here. I've put just the slightest curve in this, so hopefully I can get it fed down in there without a problem. I'm able to kind of guess where it's going, but I just kind of want you guys to see what I'm doing here with this. I seem to be hitting something, but I can't tell exactly what it is. So I may take it and bend it kind of more horizontal when I get to that point. So I can feed it down in there. Now it's going to be more horizontal. And there we are. Let me show you guys what I'm looking at here. I have my light stuck up in like that. What I'm looking at is that. But I'm trying to get out here. So I'm gonna pull this back pretty close to where I want it. I think that'll do for what I need, as long as I can get this cord set up in there, because I can always just bring it to the top and tuck it in. And if that doesn't work, I can try another spot, but I think that'll be okay. It looks like it'll fit through there just fine. I just got to figure out if it'll come up through here or not. And the only reason I'm going to all this trouble of feeding this through here to the switched outlet is, well, because it's switched. This is the only switched power source that is accessible by not tapping into a wire. I'm thinking maybe I could unbolt that little bolt right there. I'm just gonna take a shot in the dark and assume this is a 10mm bolt. And I was right. It wasn't really in the dark. I've learned the sizes of many things by now. Hopefully, that'll give us a bit more flexibility in here. And hopefully that'll give me a chance now to be able to slide the hanger up. I'm assuming of what is just above that bracket there. You just gotta finagle it a little bit. And I've been working on this all day, off and on. But unfortunately, this is pretty tight. I don't think I'm gonna have enough to run it all the way across and back. I'm gonna have to fish this cord anyways. More or less, even though that won't stretch as far, what I've basically just done is ran a fish cable. So now I'll be able to feed this through as I'm pulling the wire out beneath it. I'll be able to send that down a bit. Can I give this a pull? Push this down, give this a pull, and I'm gonna keep going like that until I get it all the way through. I got a little ahead of myself on putting things back together, but I'll tell you what I did. So I was able to get this crammed in there. I electrical taped everything together down there, the plug and the socket and the wire into the plug, and I crammed it down in this little rectangle slot down there. And as you can tell, it is pretty sturdy. It's not loose at all. It's not gonna rattle. It's a tight fit. And then I still have all of this down here that I need to figure out what to do. I did already electrical tape this, but I think what I'm gonna do is run it back through here, probably run it up. I'll probably try to follow some of these harnesses in here. I might follow this one back around there. I'll just have to untape all this. I just didn't want it to come unplugged and then we have to do all this again. But I think I'll bring it through there and then maybe wrap my extra coil and put it in there with some tape on it, which I think that's clean. That's not too dusty. I think that's what I'll do. And then I'm able to hide everything behind all the panels there. So I just need to put all this trim back on and then I'll reassemble all this. And I will secure this back down after I get it attached. I'll put everything back together and it'll be a good install.